Hey, what's up, everybody? It's rock and roll comedian Don Jamieson, That Metal Show, Rockstrap, International Spy, and Master Chef. You are hanging out with the Hooligans, which includes me, those YouTube guys.
This week on Hooligan Nation, prepare to laugh. No, not at my jokes. And not at Father Rocco, who's the butt of all of my jokes, but from a real-life professional comedian. Wait, maybe professional is not the right word for this guy, but you're going to have to stay tuned to find out, because you got
nothing to lose.
Come on, tell me a joke.
You wanted the best. Well, they retired, so you got two dudes in a garage.
Talking KISS.
Welcome to the Hooligan Nation, a KISS-Centric Podcast, the podcast where the riffs are loud, but our opinions are louder. I'm Anthony.
I'm Rocco.
We're going to do the worm next.
Try to mix it up a little bit.
Okay. What's up, hooligans? Well, here we are, back with our fellow hooligans and back on schedule finally. Today, we have a very special episode with the legendary comedian Don Jamieson from That Metal Show and the Rockstrap podcast that he hosts with Keith Roth. We discuss all things comedy and rock, and Father Rocco finally comes out of the closet. But before that, we have news, music we're listening to, and of course our weekly poll. But first, news. Father Rocco.
Yeah, I got a few things here.
Cool.
First thing I got, I'm not going to go into big detail about it, but there is on 12/2, it was on Blabbermouth, 2025 Bowl for Ronnie, Stand Up and Shout Cancer Fund. Took place in Pins Bowling Center at Studio City, California. They raised over $85,000. Another thing that's noteworthy about it, if you go into the article on Blabbermouth, there's a ton of people, Sebastian Bach, there's a lot of famous people that took part in it. So if you're curious to see all the people that actually helped for a really worthy cause, the Ronnie James Dio Stand Up and Shout Cancer Fund, it's for a good cause. Cancer's affected just about everybody in the world that we know. Everybody knows at least one person that's had cancer before. So anytime I see something like that, I'm always in favor of it. It's definitely a good cause.
Very cool thing. They've done it for a bunch of years, and $85,000 for a day of bowling is pretty good.
Absolutely.
So credit to Wendy Dio for keeping Ronnie's memory alive.
The next thing I have here is kind of comical, and we've covered this before, but it continues to grow legs. Ozzy Osbourne, the feud with Roger Waters and his ignorant comments that he made about Ozzy and Ozzy's fans back about maybe 3 months ago. Well, now Ozzy Osbourne merch store launches Roger Waters disc shirt for a limited time. This is covered on Loudwire, and the shirt is Another Prick in the Wall tee. It's available for a limited time, and you could find it on Ozzy's UK web store. If you don't know and you haven't heard, Roger Waters, and this was after Ozzy passed away, Roger Waters was throwing shade about, I think he said that he brought idiocy into the world. Like he just, no class. So I think it's appropriate. If it's $41 for the shirt, I don't know but it's pretty, I think it's kind of comical. I mean, Roger Waters definitely got a lot of attention for the wrong reasons. So you could read that article on Loudwire. There's more. There's definitely more to it. There's more substance in the article, but that's the basics of it.
And I'm going to tell you right now, I will be ordering that shirt. Absolutely. I have to have one of them. And I encourage all of our hooligans to first go to hooligan.nation.com and order yourself a Hooligan Nation sweatshirt or t-shirt.
I got to tell you, the material is really thick. I got my green one I like a lot.
Or a coffee mug.
Yeah.
Or a drink container. And after you do that, slide right over to Ozzy's website and you should get yourself a Another prick in the wall.
Yeah, another prick in the wall.
Ozzy Osbourne t-shirt. And we should plaster the world with those t-shirts.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
So that guy, and he's only that guy, but that guy remembers you don't get to just say whatever you want, whenever you want.
To me, the biggest part about that is, regardless of how you feel about somebody, the guy just passed away. It's so extremely disrespectful to his family, to who he was. And I think that Roger Waters would know that Ozzy was beloved by a lot of people in the same circles. He should have known better.
He should have known better, but I just think he doesn't care. I said this at the time.
Yeah.
I think these guys get a certain amount of money and they don't care what anybody thinks anymore, which I think is cool in one way, but I think the same rules of life should apply to rich celebrities that do to regular people. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
It's pretty damn basic, but it definitely applies.
It is.
Yep.
It is, and it's hard. And I don't know, maybe you won't agree with this, but it's harder now, especially for me, to bite my tongue because I have a platform to bite my tongue about certain things. But you kind of have a responsibility as a human being to do that, and it annoys the hell out of me when somebody like Roger Waters thinks, well, I don't have to do the same things that the rest of the world does.
And you know something? This is going to be kind of interesting, an interesting take. I am not standoffish. I don't elitist, none of that kind of stuff. I am that way towards people who feel like they're that way. I work retail, and when people act entitled, that's when I snub them, and I got nothing for them.
Every time something like this comes up, it makes me think back to the old Mike Tyson quote. Do you know what quote I'm talking about?
In the subject we're talking about, I should probably know it. Oh, everybody's until they get punched in the face, right? Everybody's got something to say.
Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Very true.
Somebody should punch Roger Waters in the face, and then he'd learn some class and shut his mouth.
Yeah, I would think that's long overdue.
That is what's wrong. I'm not going to go on a rant. I'm not. Yes, I am. I am going to go on a rant because we had a very good conversation last week about technology. And we didn't get into this, and we're not going to go deep into this, but this is part of the problem with technology is we have what I like to call keyboard warriors. Well, Roger Waters, I would consider him a keyboard warrior because he's not out with the general public. So he thinks he can say whatever he wants. Somebody should punch him in his face so he knows he can't say whatever he wants. And I think that that's part of the technology and social media, and you can type whatever you want about whoever you want. I don't know whether we even discussed this in our review of the KISS cruise, but I'm gonna do it again anyway because I can. And if I don't like it, I'll edit it out.
Well, you know what? I kind of like where you're going. Keep it going.
The night that KISS played the electric set, and I can't remember what podcast it was. It might have been multiple, so I don't want to not give people credit. I know that Podcast Rock City live streamed, I think, the whole concert. And I think that Shout It Out Loudcast also live streamed the whole concert. Hey, great job by both podcasts. I was not holding my hand up for not 90 minutes and keeping it. I just wasn't doing that. And I'm watching the concert, but I have the live stream on my phone, and I'm glancing down like between songs. And what I'm really paying attention to was all the keyboard warriors that are not in the arena, but are watching this on YouTube or Facebook or whatever social media, because it was on multiple. I think it was on. I think I was watching it on Facebook. Paul should give it up. He can't sing. This is terrible. He sounds horrible. Now we are sitting in the arena in person, and he didn't sound terrible. And look, before anybody calls me a fanboy, I'll beat him up. If he sounded like shit, I'll tell you. Last 4 or 5 times I saw Kiss live before that, he was terrible, and he was using backing tracks.
Do you remember what I said to you before the show?
I don't.
I said to you, we're getting a chance to see Kiss perform. If it's don't be disappointed if Paul's not, don't get disappointed. Let's just enjoy it. Because I didn't know what to expect. You had seen him more recently. I didn't know what to expect, and that was the one concern I had about the live set. Like the acoustic thing, they made it through. But the live thing, you got adrenaline and you're pushing out, and I was expecting to hear Paul have some rough moments. I mean, was his voice as powerful and as strong as it once was back in the day? No. But he sounded good. And there were moments, he was very selective and very strategic about when he was going the extra mile.
Good for him.
But I thought he sounded great. I was not disappointed, and I was very surprised at how good he sounded.
I did too, but that's the part of technology that's bad, is that somebody puts out a live stream, which was 100% impossibility 10, 20 years ago, and you just, as a keyboard warrior, you use it as a platform to bash a guy. And I'm okay with bashing anyone and everyone, but your bashing has to be correct. It has to be authentic. It has to be the truth. When you're bashing Paul Stanley and saying that he can't sing anymore and he sounds terrible, and my ears are telling me he hasn't sounded that good in at least 15 years, I got a kind of got a problem with that. Same thing with Roger Waters. He what do you call him? Idiocy?
Idiocy. He brought a bunch of idiocy into the world.
Look, did Ozzy do some idiotic things while he was...
He was a crazy rock star.
Yeah. Show me a rock star that didn't do crazy things. I mean, not all of them bit the heads off of bats, but as we all should know, he did that by accident. Hey, it's not his fault.
The other thing is, we talk to a lot of Kiss fans that were there?
We did.
How many Kiss fans said anything negative about Paul?
I don't think one of them said anything negative, actually.
No, everybody was pleasantly surprised. It was a really, and they were feeling it. All of them were feeling it on stage, because every so often they were going, "Hey, don't we sound good?" Like they were letting some stuff slip out of the bag. I think they were surprising themselves how good they sounded.
All right, my rant's over. I just felt the need to say that because that Roger Waters thing, it still bothers me. I think there's no point in it. The only reason why someone like Roger Waters puts that out there publicly is because he wants press to pick it up. Right. And that's crossing the line that's crossing the line. And just in case there's any Roger Waters fans out there, or there's some keyboard warriors that said that Paul couldn't sing that night, it's the same, and Paul has done it. When they went on Howard Stern saying that if we bring Peter and Ace back, we have to change the name from Kiss to Piss.
And I don't forgive him for that.
It's the same kind of thing. If somebody was standing, if Gene Simmons would have leaned over and punched Paul in the mouth, the next time he would think about what he was going to say before he said it.
Right. And on that note, Kiss, more than any other band, and this is part of the downfall, they created 4 separate brands. Paul has made himself sound like a douche many times in some of the stuff that he said, some of the shit that he put in his book. And there are people that are from the Gene camp or from the Ace camp and no matter what Paul does, they look for every opportunity to throw stones, because Paul has acted like an asshat before too. It doesn't make it right, but it also doesn't make it accurate.
Right. And if you act like an asshat, as Father Rocco eloquently just said, if you act like an asshat, I promise you, we're going to call you out on it. Yeah. So we are officially, once again, calling Roger Waters out for being that asshat. And you know what? Don't go to hooligan.nation.com. If you can't afford it and you can only buy one shirt, please please go buy the Ozzy Osbourne shirt where he's pissing on the Pink Floyd wall. Please, thank you.
That being said, we both love Pink Floyd. This is not a Pink Floyd thing. This is a Roger Waters thing. Listen, I'm going to wrap up the news. I got one more thing, and there's a lot to it, but I'm going to just give you the title, tell you where you can go. It's an interesting article if you're a Dokken fan. George Lynch on Don Dokken. I've been the benefactor of his cheating due to his lying in a big way. Came out November 29th on Blabbermouth. It's a really interesting article. To be honest with you, if you are a Dokken fan, George Lynch, and you followed their drama throughout their, band drama again, if you followed it, trust me, I read a lot of this. It's a very interesting article to read. I think you'll get some enjoyment out of it. So that's what I have, and that's what I have for the news.
All right, folks, we're going to end this week's news segment with a Facebook post from the Enigma himself, Vinnie Vincent. So if you guys need a minute to pop some popcorn and get your bullshit meters out and watch them go into the red, now is the time to do it. Vinnie Vincent's Facebook post. I'm working for a Christmas release. Many fans have been waiting so patiently for Vinnie Vincent Invasion music to be released. I'm about ready to meet the releases that have been so desired by the Vinnie Vincent faithful. All three of them. Keep watching for announcements. A Christmas release is imminent. Imminent. Each disc, this is the best part. Each disc will be a plain disc in a plain sleeve, very limited collection piece, handwritten, signed, titled, and numbered in my handwriting to each person. These are private releases worldwide. Availability of 500 pieces only. Once they are spoken for, there will be no more. My love to every member of the Vinnie Vincent and Vinnie Vincent Invasion family. Folks, in case anyone needs a translation, I am a certified Vinnie Vincent translator. Did you know that, Father Rocco?
Yes, actually I did.
I got certified as a Vinnie Vincent translator. So I'm going to translate this for you guys.
Bullshit. Oh, excuse me.
You're right?
Yeah.
Do you need to get a drink?
It happens every time I hear the name Vinny. Sometimes it just...
Do you need to lubricate your palate for this? Each disc will be a plain disc. Well, that's because he's at home burning them off his computer. There will be a plain sleeve. Well, that's because he's too cheap to actually do any sleeve artwork. Very limited collection piece. Handwritten, signed title. You know how, like, we used to make mixed CDs?
Yep.
And you'd handwrite on it? It sounds familiar, right?
Yep.
Right? And Vinny is trying to sucker these poor people into thinking that because they're numbered in his handwriting, that they are private releases. How much do you think Vinny's going to charge for these? Because
there's no value in Vinny anymore.
There's none. This is how I'm going to end this. Please, if you're a hooligan, please, 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 I'm begging you. Please do not send your money to Vinnie Vincent. The chances that you're actually going to receive a CD is probably 2%. Music we're listening to.
I am listening to Alienation from 3 Days Grace, the new album. I absolutely love it already. It's damn good. You probably already heard the first single, and they have a really cool video for it, Mayday. Dominate is a really good tune. In Waves is a good tune. Apologies. I only made it through the first 4 because I've listened to them a bunch of times already. They got about 10 songs, I believe, on it, but it is really good. And the one of the singers is back with them. They're back together again now. So you got two guys singing at different times. So You know I've I've burnt it out on this podcast how much I like 3 Days Grace. I really love their music.
Very cool. Very cool. I will have to check that out. Music I'm listening to. Lots of Ace. Lots of Ace. Especially in the 1987 solo album. I'm also listening to some Evanescence. And, some House of Pain for a little change up.
I like that.
Doesn't everybody listen to Ace Frehley, Evanescence, and House of Pain together?
It's an interesting combination. Maybe make a mixtape.
If that doesn't say a lot about me, nothing does. Before we get to my favorite part, we have a special Shout It Out Loud segment to Neil Davis from Kiss Cancer Goodbye. So, just so everybody knows, Neil Davis is part of the group Kiss Cancer Goodbye. They also do Creatures Fest, and we did a Wednesday segment last week or the week before.
I think week before.
On the pre-party. We don't know Neil Davis. We don't know anybody from Kiss Cancer Goodbye. We don't know anybody from Kiss Army Spain. We don't know any of these guys. But we really thought that they did a really good job. And we thought that the performances were great. That the whole thing was great. I mean, if you want our
organized, very good.
If you want our full review of it, go back to that segment and watch that segment. But today, I received an email from Neil Davis that I got to tell you, I don't have many feelings, but it hit me right here a little bit, and I'm serious. The email said, "Hey guys, this is Neil Davis from Kiss Cancer Goodbye / Creatures Fest. Had a chance to watch your podcast about our pre-party. First, super glad that you guys enjoyed the event. It was a work of love on our part to celebrate Kiss, Ace, and provide a special evening for fellow Kiss fans. Also want to sincerely thank you for the nice comments during your podcast. I often say that our events are for Kiss fans by Kiss fans. So it's great to hear such nice comments from fellow fans. Sincerely, Neil." First and foremost, thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time and sending us the email. I sincerely wish more people were like you are. We just like to say thank you, and I can tell you, for me, anything you guys do in the future that I can attend, I will attend.
Same here.
Anything that you guys do in the future that you need help with, and that somehow we can be any kind of assistance to you, feel free to reach out to us. We'll do everything that we can in our power.
Yeah, and I'm. It's hard. It's weird for me to even say, but I'm a cancer survivor, so I'm definitely up for the cause.
Do you know what time it is?
It's poll time.
It is poll time. Our weekly polls can be found on our community tab and on our Facebook group. This week's question is, in your opinion, what is the best Kiss demo song? Are you ready, Father Rocco?
I am ready.
Your choices: Sword and Stone, Crazy Nights; Mistake, Dress to Kill; Ain't None of Your Business, Destroyer; Deadly Weapon from the Unmasked, the Elder era. Father Rocco,
Yes.
what say you?
I think Sword and Stone. I've been listening to that. Believe it or not, I've been listening to that a lot ever since we saw Bruce do it.
Yeah, I can't stop.
It may be one of my favorite Kiss songs. It's up there. It's a really, really good song and lost opportunity. So that's definitely my choice.
And what do you think the Hooligans think?
I don't think it's close. It's such a good song. I think everybody. I think it's a very high percentage of Sword and Stone. Sword. That song.
You're right.
Yeah, I can't say it.
Are you tongue-tied?
A little. Yes.
Did you swallow a sword?
Sword
I
and
always thought you were a sword swallower.
Here we go. I walked right into that one.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
You can edit that out.
Oh, no. That's not good. There's no fucking chance that that's getting edited out. Boy, I saw that motherfucker coming from a mile away, man.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. This is a very cool poll for us, only because, like, usually I said this a little bit last week, but YouTube only allows us 4 choices on the polls. Apparently, Facebook allows multiple choices because I put 4 song choices and then put a choice where you could put your own in. And our friend Victor Ruiz from Signals from Mars podcast,
Hey, Victor.
he went above and beyond and he put a 6th choice. And so we really have 6 choices.
Nice.
Sword and Stone, Mistake, Deadly Weapon, Not for the Innocent, with Gene and Paul on trade-off vocals, which I have to admit, I haven't heard it yet, but I'm going to search for it. Ain't None of Your Business from Destroyer, and on our Facebook page, we also had a write-in choice, which nobody took advantage of. But coming in with exactly 0%, Ain't None of Your Business from Destroyer. Coming in with 5%, was the song submitted by Victor, Not for the Innocent, with Gene and Paul trade-off vocals.
Yeah, I'm curious about that one.
Me too. Deadly Weapon came in with 10%. Mistake came in with 21%.
Really?
Can you do the math? Hell no, you can't do the math. No. And Sword and Stone won with 64%. Which I have to tell you, my ears tell me it should have been more than 64%. But it was a clear winner. I mean, the Mistake was in second place with 21%. But it is, in my opinion, it's criminal.
The lost opportunity.
Oh. Would you call Ron Nevison an idiot for that?
I said just flat out dumb.
Dumb? Okay.
You can't be a producer and not know that song's a hit. You can't.
You know what? I know nothing about Ron Nevison other than he was part of a lot of the 80s sounding music, Bon Jovi, I believe Aerosmith, a lot of that, but I would love to get Ron Nevison on here just to ask.
We'll be respectful, I promise.
What was wrong with Sword and Stone? As a fan, what are we missing? Like, what are we missing?
Yeah, I don't understand how Paul could be involved in something like that and not realize. I mean, I blame Paul too. If anybody should have been able to catch that and know it's a hit and not let it slip out of his fingers, it's Paul.
Do you know who wrote that song?
Who? Wait. It wasn't.
There's three writers of that song.
Who's that one famous guy that's always writing for people? If it's not, I can't think of his name. He's got a really cool name. You're not gonna help me at all, are you? I give up.
He's such a child.
Who? Me?
The song was written by Paul Stanley, Bruce Kulick, and Desmond Child.
That's who I was trying to. Desmond Child. That's who I was trying to. And he missed it too.
You wanted the hint, and I said he's such a child.
Child. That's my bad. Okay.
You can't say. I have to edit that.
I didn't say.
Now you said it twice. I can see where this episode is going, boy. It ain't going anywhere good, man. Battleborn is a collaborative effort among like-minded individuals and organizations intent on repairing and restoring people who have served our country. We do this by delivering a unique level of support and guidance to those servicemen and women who have emotional and psychological wounds. We provide support directly and indirectly in collaboration with others in our community who value those who have served this nation and its communities. For more information, go to wearebattleborn.com. All right, hooligans, welcome back to the Hooligan Nation, a KISS-Centric Podcast. We have the legendary Don Jamieson with us. For those 4 people out there that don't know who Don is, Don Jamieson is an Emmy-winning comedian, host, and lifelong rocker, known for blending sharp humor with deep music knowledge. Don has become one of the most recognizable voices in hard rock and heavy metal culture. He's released multiple comedy shows on Metal Blade Records, including Live and Hilarious, Hell-Bent for Laughter, Denim and Laughter, and No Sleep Till McSorley's. Beyond comedy, Don has lent his vocal and writing talents to several hard rock and metal projects, appearing on albums and contributing to spoken word and interlude tracks for various bands. He is a former co-host of VH1 Classics' legendary That Metal Show. Don now hosts the Rockstrap podcast, where he interviews musicians, comedians, and rock icons. Whether on stage, in the studio, or behind the mic, Don Jamieson continues to champion heavy music with humor, passion, and true East Coast attitude. Don, thank you so much for agreeing to come out and hang out with the Hooligans today.
Anthony, Rocco, yes, thank you very much. Great to be on with you. It was great to meet you guys up at the Chiller Theater, and we made it happen. Here we are.
I got to start you off with kind of a funny story, and then we'll get into this. So we both have kids. I have 3 daughters, 27, 24, and 18. So they know nothing about this music, very little. KISS is probably the most that they know about, but they have no idea about any of this. But my oldest daughter, who's 27, she always asks me, hey, how's the podcast going? A couple weeks ago, she says to me, I haven't had a chance to watch the podcast. Have you done anything interesting lately? And I'm telling her, and she goes, have you interviewed anybody? And I said, well, I'm working on interviews, and I start naming names, and she doesn't know anybody. I'm naming these names, and she's like, oh, yeah, I don't know who that is. And I'm, next one, I don't know who that is. And I get to you, and I go, the first one is I think it's going to be Don Jamieson. And she goes, you're getting Don Jamieson on the podcast? I go, yeah, do you know who he is? She goes, of course I know who he is. Are you really getting Don Jamieson on podcast? She's like, I watch him on YouTube all the time. He's from That Metal Show. I'm like, how the hell do you know? Oh, my oldest daughter wants to be a comedian. So she is on YouTube watching comedians. You are the first, and I'm going to guess the only thing that she's ever going to know about this podcast.
A tidbit about that, she would need to be censored.
Oh,
she's rough.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad that she knew who I was, and hopefully, maybe some of my humor will inspire her. And follow your dreams, man. I would have never thought when I started doing comedy, Jesus, 26 years ago, that someday, I would be on a TV show with 2 of my best friends talking about the only music that I loved and meeting all my idols and actually getting paid for it. So, it all starts with a dream, and you go from there.
Speaking of one of those 2 buddies of yours, I am a regular listener of Eddie Trunk's Daily Show, and I love Eddie, but he does tend to have opinions on certain things. So I wanted to start this off by asking you some of his highly opinionated questions that fire him up to see if maybe you get fired up too.
All right.
Do you think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame should only elect rock music artists?
The short answer is yes, of course. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But the longer answer is, look, this is how they've operated since the beginning. If you go, on the computer and you use the chat GPT or what GPI or whatever the hell it is, it'll give you the list of all the people they have nominated and inducted over the years, and they've always done this, and so that's the way it is, and you just got to deal with it. The thing I do agree about with Eddie is, look, if you're going to put in Madonna, if you're going to put in Missy Elliott, if you're going to put in LL Cool J, okay, we'll accept that. But you can't put them in before you put in Motorhead or Thin Lizzy or Def Leppard or Iron Maiden. Well, Def Leppard's in, but Iron Maiden, there's just so many people who deserve to be in before that. Now, if you want to put them in after, that's up to you. But again, yeah, I like the purity of just keeping it rock and roll, but that's not the way it is. So, we go with what it is.
See, I always believe that the words rock and roll isn't a genre of music, it's an attitude. And if you ask me, Madonna, if it was defined in the dictionary, her picture would be next to rock and roll because of the attitude. Now, Lemmy would be right next to her, but Madonna would be in there also. And that's when I usually start screaming at my radio in the car when Eddie Trunk says that.
Well, Lemmy would be next to her trying to bang her, probably.
He would, and he'd probably succeed because if she do, he would. If she do Dennis Rodman, she'd do Lemmy.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we agree on that.
I mean, she looks like an alien these days, though.
Yeah, that's true. Nobody's doing her now.
Yeah, it's bad, but I know a rocker who got her in her prime.
There's a couple. Who's the new one that came out? Oh shit.
Well, the one that has admitted to it is Chips Enough.
Really?
Yeah, and he deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just for that.
Just for that.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about Lucky Star Madonna.
Yeah,
that was a good catch.
Oh,
Lucky Star Madonna.
Yeah.
Just for My Michelle, High in a New Thing, and he banged Madonna. He deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they definitely have their own sound too. Yeah.
I can agree with that. They should put us on the nominating committee.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Do you think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame should move artists up in the process because of their age?
Yes, I very much. I started this rap actually a long time ago, but about sports, because Jim and Eddie and I are all big sports fans. And,
so are we.
Yeah, and Eddie was and still is really good friends with Mike Piazza, the former New York Met. But via Eddie, I became friends with Mike as well. And if you know Mike's story, is like his dad wanted so much for Mike to be a professional baseball player. It's so much that he hired like Ted Williams to give him batting practice.
Oh, wow.
He built a batting cage in the backyard. Like, his dad was such a, big influence and driver of what ultimately made Mike successful and a Hall of Famer. And Mike's dad was at the end, he was getting older, and it was starting to get to that point where like, you're not going to induct Mike Piazza into the Baseball Hall of Fame because he played at a time when some other people used steroids. That's BS, man.
That's
I
total
think
BS.
that's awful. Just on rumor and innuendo. So, I apply that to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's like, you're going to wait 20 years to induct somebody and then they pass away, and then you're going to induct them posthumously when by all rights they should have been inducted when they were still alive. I don't know.
No, I agree with that.
Kind of lame.
You know what? I do. I usually don't agree with Eddie about that because of the other Hall of Fames. And how players like, for instance, we are both big Yankee fans. So we absolutely believe Don Mattingly should be in the Hall of Fame. But Don Mattingly may not live to see himself in the Hall of Fame because his numbers just aren't there to put him in before everybody else. But your explanation kind of moves me more towards the middle.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do.
I just like to see, let these guys get their due, And again, especially, and the people around them who have supported them, and Mike always had the legitimate numbers too. As do a lot of bands have the legitimate credentials, whether it's album sales, influence, and the amount of hits and radio airplay and everything else that they got, and they make them wait forever, and then it's too late. All the original members of Motorhead are gone, so that'll be anticlimactic if and when it happens.
Yeah, and it is a lot of times already. Like, I don't think Motorhead will ever go in, but what's the point of putting Motorhead in now? Lemmy's gone.
Yeah,
And it's unfortunate, but for all intents and purposes, Motorhead is Lemmy.
Yeah, well, for sure.
You know?
And I will go back to the other thing you said about rock and roll is an attitude. And I believe in that too, in terms of Madonna definitely meant she did it on her own, man. She said, I'm going to New York and I'm going to make it famous, and I'm going to slug it out like everybody else. And she really did. So
And she
I
stayed
agree with you with
relevant
that.
too.
But where are you I mean, you're putting in Missy Elliott, and then who's next? Young MC? I mean, come on.
Oh.
MC Hammer's going to get in before Lemmy. That's ridiculous.
MC Hammer and his one song is going to get in. I would not be surprised if MC Hammer didn't get in with his one song.
But in my opinion of Motorhead, like maybe they didn't have the sales, but they influenced so many bands. Metallica gives them props. I mean, I think there's a lot of people unaware of the influence that they had.
Yep.
Sure there are. What is your take on Tommy Thayer and Eric Singer wearing Ace Frehley and Peter Criss's makeup?
He's never heard that one before.
Time to not be politically correct.
When I was 12, it might have bothered me, but it can't bother me now. It makes no difference to me. I think that KISS should have always been giving people their own identities, but at the end of the day, man, I'm in my 50s. I can't get that worked up about it. And those guys are doing a job, I know Eric Singer, and he's a great dude, man. I can't get mad at him for putting on the cat makeup.
Look, I love both. I love both of them. I just don't love them in the makeup. Like,
Okay.
we went to the KISS cruise landlocked in Vegas a couple weeks ago, and it's the first time I saw the four of them on stage without makeup, and I loved them. I thought they were great. When I see them, when I had in the past seen them on stage with the makeup, I hate them. Hate them. Can't stand it. Don't like it. The Ace Frehley and Peter Criss were wrong also, because they both toured with somebody wearing fake makeup, but I still, it bothers me.
And that being said, he fully admits if the opportunity was given to him, he would have took it in a heartbeat.
Oh, hell yeah, you're going to pay me $5 million a year and only ask me to wear the cat makeup? For $5 million a year, I wear a tutu. I don't care.
I do it for $50.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Well-
you do that for free.
Stop. That video didn't get out yet.
By the way, the last thing on sports, it's again Weeds thing, but props on Inside the NFL. I was doing some research on you. I saw that. That's freaking cool. I used to love that show.
Yeah, Jim and I think we did the last season on HBO. And and that's another thing, I was saying earlier, like to start out doing comedy. And, obviously for most people, if they know my name, they know it from that metal show. But, we're also huge sports guys. So I've also worked in sports for a long time as well. And Inside the NFL was one of them. And I worked for the SNY channel for the Mets. I did a show called Beer Money on there. So I've had
Very cool.
decent amount of TV time in sports as well. But yeah, in my heart, man, I'm a rocker above all else.
All right, Father Rocco, just so you know. I like
they
to call
they
him
me
Father Rocco. Father Rocco, do you have a
Bless you,
question?
Father.
I do. What made you become a comedian, and did you ever consider being a musician?
No, I did. In high school, I played guitar and I was in a band, and we used to jam and play parties and stuff. But I don't know. I just got to the point where I wanted to go to college, and the other guys were going to set off and go try to be professional musicians. And I just said I had to make a choice there. And, I was sort of peaking out as a musician. And because I have such love and respect for music, I said, you know what, I'm going to leave it to the people who do it the best. And I still, I have about 8 guitars and I pick them up and play once in a while. Every once in a while, I'll jump up with my friends and jam an AC/DC song. But,
Nice.
as far as making it a career, I was like, it's, once I started getting into comedy, I'm like, God, this is way easier than, fighting with 4 other people, having to split the money
Drama,
four
band drama.
ways.
Yeah.
I just put my dirty jokes in my pocket and I go.
I like it.
Who was the coolest rock star you ever met and why?
Well, Lemmy, because he's my hero. For me, it was like to have him on that metal show. The only thing I didn't want was for him to not like me. That's all I cared about. And like, I didn't care if he remembered my name. I just didn't want to do something for him to not like me because that would have really crushed me. So the first few times, we had him on, I just stayed very professional and, did my gig. We had fun and everything, but, I didn't try to push myself up, push myself on him. And then, probably the third or fourth time he did the show, he was sitting in his dressing room after the taping and I was walking by and I hear, Don, come in here, sit down for a while. And I was just like frozen because first of all, that he knew my name was even like incredible.
Very
And I
cool.
went in and that was my first Jack and Coke with Lemmy. And it was just like
Wow.
check off the
Wow.
bucket list, you know what I
That's
mean?
awesome.
So, and after that, he took a liking to me. And I think it was because I didn't try to kind of weasel myself into his world. He just kind of accepted me into it. And, he liked people who could carry on a good conversation. And so apparently I passed that test because I had a few more Jack and Cokes with him after that until he passed.
You got to
Nice.
get hammered with Lemmy.
Oh, yeah.
That's something that should have been in your bio. Actually, you know what? I may
Yeah.
write it in your bio.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get Chat GPT to put that in because to me that's a bigger credit than almost anything else I have.
Yeah, well, to
Absolutely.
us and our audience, it probably is.
Yeah.
I'm going to flip it the other way. They say never meet your heroes. Was there any specific event, and you don't have to get real, not real out there if you don't want to, but that disappointed you? Like you were really pumped to meet, and after meeting them, you're like, well, that wasn't. Because I just recently met George Lynch this year, and I honestly thought I was going to be let down, and I got to sing with him. So I was like so stoked with that about that, and he was cool and laid back. Nothing like I expect. I thought he was going to be a prick, to be honest with you. But
Well, George,
he
George can swing a couple different ways. I love George because he can be very kind of dark and deadpan when he wants to be, and some people don't know how to take that. So I get where you're coming from, but yeah, I don't. It was funny when George and Don came on the show and they said, that they were going to get back together. And they said, back then it was really the record company made up that, we didn't get along just because they wanted publicity. And then they spent the whole rest of the show arguing. So I love stuff like that.
oh my God, yeah.
I always put my personal stuff aside with people because, you know, I I just wanted to make a good TV show. So whether I like somebody more or less than others, as long as they made a good TV show with us, I was cool with it. And I know it sounds boring, but honestly, man, nobody was an asshole. I mean, we were
That's
we were
great.
helping these people out. We were helping them plug new albums and tours and wines and
Mutual,
cheeses
yeah.
and hot sauces and whatever else they
Oh, the
had.
hot sauces.
So they were always cool. I mean, there's
That's
nobody
awesome.
honestly I could think of in all 14 seasons where I was like, oh God, what an asshole. It was really a positive thing, man.
Well, he told stories like it was actually at Richie's, the Guitar Center, and it was an event, and he was promoting his guitars and stuff, and he told funny stories. He told a story about the video he did for Dream Warriors. I think it was Dream Warriors,
It
where they're
was.
like locked like this, and he said they basically had to. He was so drunk they had to boost him up there. That's how loaded he was.
These things will happen. That's part of
Yes.
being a rock star in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean,
Party
like
like
when we
rock
had
star.
Marilyn Manson on, it's the only one I can really think of where it was like, he came, the 2 times he did the show, he was a complete mess. And, that just made our job harder, but he wasn't an asshole. He was he was just being Manson. And, I always say, I didn't want the shiny, happy Manson. I want the
The
rock
real
star
dude. Yeah.
Manson. He drank a bottle of absinthe when he came into our
Ah,
show, and that's up to him. I got to work a little harder. That's all. And believe me, we worked very hard to get that show on the air
Oh
because
my God.
he was a handful.
it did make good TV though. I remember
Yeah.
that episode.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Uh,
you always say with the rock stars, like, I wonder if they're drinking the real thing, like they always just say that about David Lee Roth. Like, there's no way he's drinking 2 bottles of Jack Daniels during a concert. And they go, oh, that's got to be iced tea. Well, Manson was definitely real absinthe because he had the bottle out, and our producer came out and said, I'm so sorry, you're not going to be able to drink that while we're taping. But we're happy to get you a cup. And he goes, okay, that's fine. So the PA comes over with a styrofoam coffee cup, puts it on the table. He pours the absinthe in it, and the whole cup disintegrated
oh,
instantly.
Oh,
oh,
wow. Oh
yeah.
my.
That's a hint not to drink that.
Yeah, I would think.
But you know,
Holy
Yeah, that's
shit.
imagine what your stomach is doing.
yeah.
Wow.
What is the best part of doing stand up?
Um, I mean, obviously that immediate reaction, um, as long as it's positive, because the other reaction is not very satisfying. But that's the only way you learn. Like I was just with Florentine today, and we were talking about bad sets that we've had, and I just always tell young comics, I go, you're gonna take your lumps, no matter how long you've been doing this. The positive thing about having a bad set is you will work your ass off for that to not happen again. No comedian ever went on stage and destroyed and then ran back to their house or their hotel room and rewrote their whole act. But if
Right.
you bomb,
Right.
that's it. You don't care. I don't care if there's 3 Los Angeles 10s waiting to have sex with me in a hot tub after the show. No, I'm going back to my room and writing 5 new punchlines for every joke because that instant rejection is as
I can't even.
powerful
Yeah.
as the positive reaction of laughter. So, I like when people say, hey, I came to your show, I just lost a family member, or I've been going through a tough time with illness, or whatever that, or just maybe it was just a really bad week at work. And that I sent them home with a smile on their face, man, that's what it's about.
Laughter's the best medicine.
Yeah, again, cliche, but it's true. It
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 is.
really is. And I get emails and stuff from people all the time, a few weeks after a show where I'll go, it wasn't that good a show. And they'll just say, hey, I want to thank you so much. I've been going through a lot of things and it got me through. So awesome. That's what it's about.
You know what I give you guys a lot of credit for? Like I got stuck in a situation where it was like a closet thing and I didn't know I was going to be called up. And
Whoa, whoa,
I
whoa.
got, I,
Did you just say you got stuck in the closet?
no, wait,
Here it comes.
this
If
is this,
if
that's
today is
that's
the
an
day
example.
hey, if
That's an
today is the
example.
day that you decide to come out of the closet, it's cool with both of us. All right.
The only problem is when he gets me with stuff like that, then I forget what my point is.
We're all inclusive here, Father Rocco.
Oh, absolutely. We're
I
all
got you.
inclusive.
So, long story short is how you guys stretch out jokes though. Like I went up there and I wasn't expecting to get called up. I had 5 minutes. I told a joke and everybody laughed. I'm like, "Oh, that wasn't so bad." And then I look and I still got 3 minutes left to go and I got nothing.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, when you're being hired to do it, you have to fill the time. And especially when you first start out, you think you have the time. And then, yeah, you're like, do you have 10 minutes? Oh, I could do 10 minutes, yeah, easily. And then that situation happened to me more times than I could count, where I got to, 5 or 6. And then I'm like, so anybody celebrating anything here tonight?
Oh, that's definitely a skill, man. That's definitely a skill.
Yeah. So you just, you build it up over the years. And I still never feel like I have enough. I'm always worried, like before the show, God, do I have enough material? And I know I do, in my head, but, emotionally, I still think of those early days where I had to really stretch out and it's like, oh, and that's how and that was, doing crowd work is a good way to fill time if you need it, especially if your material's not really hitting as hard, then at least you can go to the crowd. You know, if
Well,
you
I know
pick
there's a
on
lot of
enough
guys that
people, someone will say something dumb enough that you can, jump
I
on.
I like Matt Rife,
yeah, I was gonna
and,
say a lot of
and
guys make their whole act about the crowd.
that's his best acts, or when he just walks out there on stage and entices people in the crowd to say something stupid, and
Right,
then he
exactly.
runs for 10 minutes on it.
Yeah,
If you have Rocco in your crowd, if you talk to
Exactly.
him, he's going to admit that he's in the closet, and
Yeah.
then there you go.
When I go to edit
and
this,
I come out of the closet. I'm wearing a tutu. It's all good.
yeah, when I go to edit this, he was
That you
in the
borrowed from
closet.
Anthony.
He
Yeah.
was in the
I borrowed
closet
it
and
straight.
had nothing. So I want to know what the other guy thought. Hey,
Oh, do you have a favorite that metal show guest?
Yeah, for me, my favorite ones are the guys that who are controversial, because whether you like them or you don't, you're going to tune in. So in terms of making a television show, guys like a Marilyn Manson or a Phil Anselmo or a Dave Mustaine or a Ted Nugent. Those are guys, love them or hate them, they are gonna say what's on their mind,
They're
and
gonna
you are
bring
gonna
it.
be tuning in to hear what the hell they have to say. So in terms of making a TV show, those are the type of people. In terms of personally, again, Lemmy, Alice Cooper, who's just one of the great gentlemen in heavy music, just such an incredibly friendly
Class.
guy. Brian Johnson could not have been friendlier and cooler. So, those are personally for me my favorite ones.
Very cool.
I got to ask a follow-up question on that, because if I don't, the hooligans out there will kill
This
me
is
for it.
this is his opportunity to talk about Nita Strauss. That's what this.
No,
That's where we're going.
I was going to jump all over Nita Strauss, but I'm skipping along.
Literally, or
I'm
Yeah, a
gonna
lot of people would.
I'm gonna act like an adult for this second.
why start now?
The 9-year-old to come back. When you had Ace Frehley on, can you tell us a little bit about that? Was there anything, I don't know, special, significant? I mean, Ace is Ace, so
And we love him.
anything could
obviously,
happen.
Well, having Ace and Peter too on the show. For me, what was special about it is that's the first band that I ever loved was Kiss. So even just getting to meet Ace and getting to know him a little bit, and also Peter, that was incredible just on its own. In terms of him being on the TV show, he did one of the funniest things on our show, probably, easily the top three funniest moments was when we were interviewing him about how he created the smoking guitar. He starts telling us about it, and he goes, and actually, I have a new product that I invented that I want to debut here on the show. And he told our producer about this, but our producer didn't tell the three of us, me and Eddie and Jim. And he goes, yeah, I want to show it to you guys. It's the smoking flute. He takes out a little wood flute and starts playing it, and smoke starts coming out of the
Oh
end.
my
And the three of
God.
us doubled over in laughter because we did not
my
see
God.
that coming.
It was great that the
Oh,
producer
man.
didn't tell you because it's organic.
Yeah, and
Oh,
we
boy.
really laughed so goddamn hard. And I'll never forget that moment as long as I live. That was such a cool, funny moment that Ace actually prepared something
That's
to
awesome.
do hilarious on our show.
He was such a character.
He definitely is.
Always. And he loved comedy, he loved jokes, but he was definitely he loved street jokes and he loved comedians, and obviously he fancied himself as one, and he had that, obviously he had that great laugh that went
was one
along
of a
with
kind.
it.
Oh,
So he would crack a
Absolutely.
joke, and he would laugh at his own jokes, and that laugh was so infectious.
Absolutely.
all right. So I got to ask you the hardest question that you're going to get from us today.
Oh, I think I know where he's going with this.
That metal show
Oh,
is
no,
a
it's not.
cult
Okay.
classic within the hard rock heavy metal community. Can you give our audience any updates on whether or not we will ever see that metal show again?
Well, unfortunately, it's kind of the easiest question you can ask me because there's nothing going on right now, and we don't own the name, so that's always the sticking point is,
Oh, I didn't know that.
if we own the name, I think, we would have already been back on the air, but that's all VH1 thing, all Viacom thing. And so
Mm.
not to bore people with corporate stuff like that. But yeah, that's really the bottom line. But the one thing I say is that I'm always hopeful because the three of us are still best friends. We still go to shows together. We still hang out together. So it would never be a matter of like the three of us wouldn't want to do it. And as we know, things always come back into style, right? Bell bottoms came back into style. Mullets, are back in style. So maybe eventually, us three come back into style.
You
But if not,
still have an audience.
yeah, the metal audience is worldwide, and now especially with we working like this is like that metal show was never in Europe or Asia or any of that stuff. Now nowadays you can broadcast to the whole world,
True.
via YouTube and stuff like that. So I think we would only hopefully grow our audience, and for the people who never saw us in those other countries, hopefully they jump on board.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, especially for someone like him and I, where I go look at our analytics for the audio podcast, and I'm like, there's somebody watching us in Sweden?
Yeah, it's wild.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just freaks me out. I don't know why, but I'm like addicted to looking just at the audio analytics of where people are listening to us. So I can't
Oh, I think
imagine
that's
what it would be
important.
like.
Yeah, because it is a global phenomenon. I mean, Metallica is played on every continent, literally. So there are metalheads everywhere in the world. And even when we weren't in certain countries, I found out later a lot of people still somehow bootlegged the show or made a fake IP address so that they could watch it. I've done a couple tours in the UK, and I would get a handful of people who came up to me after the show and like, oh, we used to bootleg that metal show over here in Ireland or Scotland or England, and
That's
I was
wild.
like, wow, that's really cool that that's how we are as metalheads, right? We'll do any if we find something we like, we'll do anything to get our hands on it. And like I said, I hope we always kept it real, and I think that's what people appreciated about it.
It was
I
definitely
know we did.
it was definitely a golden age. I mean, the '80s going into the early '90s was the best.
Yeah, yeah,
I like the
and we
'70s too,
embraced
but
and we embraced all eras, as much as we could. Obviously our roots are in the classic stuff, but as you do the show for longer and longer, and this will happen with you guys too. It's like the longer you do the show, the more you want to broaden it out, to different types of people. We had Sticks on and we had Hard on, but we also had Dillinger Escape Plan and Amon Amarth. So, you didn't want to just stick to metal and we're only going to do, Black Sabbath and anybody who did fall Slayer and who falls under the metal category. I think we always made a point. This is all things hard rock and heavy metal, but we dipped our toe in classic rock and extreme metal and things like that.
it
So,
keeps it fresh. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
That's exactly why that word centric was
yeah,
put into
right.
the name of the podcast because I didn't want to get put in a corner and get yelled at when I did something that wasn't Kiss. So we
Yep.
made it Kiss-Centric.
Can you create for us your all-star rock band, dead or alive? You can count keys if you want.
I could count who?
Keyboard. You can count keyboard.
Oh, and keyboard
If you
too,
want.
man.
If you don't have to. If you want to, you can add it. And I'm sure you probably did it before on that metal show at some point. Probably you guys did something like that, I think.
I'm sure we did. Yeah.
And
Yeah. So
and you don't have to be put on the spot, but I'm just, yeah, it was just a question when I was thinking of questions to ask.
yeah, yeah. No, it's a great one, and it probably changes. But the one thing that probably would never change is Lemmy has to be in my band. So whether or
Right.
not he's singing or not, he's got to be on at least in the band, playing bass. It's funny when you do these things because you also try. In my mind, I try to match up who's in the band, which I know people don't really care, but like with Eddie Van Halen, like I put Eddie Van Halen in the band
Oh,
in two
like with Eddie.
seconds. But how would him and
I
Lemmy
haven't.
play together?
Yeah,
Would that
that's
really
cool.
work or not? But just for the sake of not boring everybody to death, Lemmy, Eddie Van Halen, on the drums. Oh boy. Um, hmm. Well, I think I got to put somebody from Sabbath in. Do I make Ozzy the singer? Let's make Ozzy the singer.
Ooh.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and not just in light of him passing. I mean, I with Kiss, I got to get a Kiss member in there. With Kiss being my gateway band, let's put Peter behind the drums. I'm gonna go with that one.
Nice,
Lemmy, Peter,
nice.
Eddie, Ozzy.
I like it.
Wow,
Hmm.
that's a hell of a band.
Interesting band.
Yeah.
All right. Don, you up for some subscriber questions?
Let's do it.
All right, you can't hold us accountable for our subscribers because some of them are squirrely. So, Wendy from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania asks, what's the craziest thing you have ever seen at a concert or live show, on stage or in the crowd?
At a couple of festivals, I've seen wheelchair chair surfing,
Oh,
and
Ooh.
that is wild. Have you guys ever seen that?
No, I've never seen that. It sounds cool.
It's body surfing, but somebody in a wheelchair. And it's like, well, if everyone else can do it, why not? And just this
Wow.
mass of tens of thousands of people holding up a fellow rocker in their wheelchair and passing them from the back to the front and eventually getting them up to the stage. And then, of course, being let down, by security and then wheeling back around, ready again for round two. That's one of the
That
craziest
is
things I've ever
awesome.
seen. Yeah.
That is really
very
cool.
cool. All right, this is from my daughter. So, this is from Kylie from Dover, New Jersey asks, what piqued your interest in comedy?
It was all at the same time. Kiss and George Carlin, they both got on my radar when I was like 11 years old. And I instantly liked both because my parents hated both. So, what I didn't understand comedy wise, because Carlin was pretty deep for an 11-year-old. I mean, he was deep if, you're
Bro, he was ahead of his time, man.
yeah, so I might not have understood everything, but I knew he was subversive. And that, of course, that makes him very appealing and still appealing and one of my favorite comics to this day. And like I said, my parents didn't like Kiss either. So both those worlds collided in my head at a young age. And obviously it took a while, but then those two worlds really have collided in a big way in my career. So yeah, that's where it comes from.
Mike from Plant City, Florida asked, who is or was some of your favorite local Jersey bands from the 80s, regardless of if they actually made it or not?
Yeah, Mike, great question because it's fresh in my mind because I just went to see Accept in Queensryche here in New Jersey, and the new 15 years now singer of Accept is a guy named Mark Tornillo, who is legendary in New Jersey for his band TT Quick.
Oh yeah.
And everybody who grew up here in New Jersey went and saw TT Quick all the time. They were everybody's favorite band, that they never quite got over the hump. Their first album came out on Island Records, which was, doing, big acts at the time, but they just never pushed them over the edge. And, I was so happy now all these years later that, Mark got this shot with Accept and he's kicking ass with those guys. So, yeah, I'd have to say TT Quick for sure.
That's awesome.
David from Somerville, South Carolina asks, what is the funniest story from that metal show that you can share?
David, funniest one. I mean, my favorite moment on the show was, especially when we first started taping in Los Angeles, Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses would just come down and to hang out at our tapings. Obviously, we had him on the show a bunch of times, and he always wanted to stump the trunk. That was he was obsessed with stumping Eddie.
Love
And
that.
so
That
every
segment.
time he came on, or any time he just came down to the studio, we put him in the line to stump the trunk. And like 5 or 6 times he couldn't get him. And then one time he finally stumped Eddie, and he was so happy. And he reached in and he pulled out an Alice Cooper CD, and he's like, "I finally got you, Eddie. I told you I was going to get you." Well, cut to a year later, and it's Eddie's birthday. And again, the producers don't tell us anything that they have planned. So we go on the show, and Eddie gets to gloat because he goes, "So guess what? I just found out that Steven Adler, when he was on the show the last time, thought he stumped me, but we looked it up and he was wrong. He did not stump me. So I am still unbeaten against Steven Adler." So now they wheel out this giant cake, one of those cakes where you think like, a bikini girl's going to jump out of the top. The top opens up and Steven Adler jumps out of the cake. And he's holding the CD that he won from stumping Eddie. And he's like, "I'm sorry, Eddie. I still have the CD. I'm going
Oh
to put
my
it back in the
God.
box, but I'm still going to get you one day."
Oh, that is classic.
And that moment
What a great idea.
still sticks in my mind. When Adler popped out of there and none of us knew it, we were just dying.
That is such a cool idea.
That's too good. Our last subscriber question from Pamplemousse, one of our most loyal subscribers.
She's a VIP.
She's a he, by the way.
He's a VIP. I mean.
From Stratford, Connecticut, asks, "What do you think of the KISS avatars?"
Well, Pamplemousse.
Pamplemousse. Yes.
Pamplemousse. Pamplemousse should start a band with Bumblefoot. That'd be great. Pamplemousse and Bumblefoot. They could do an album together. I have not seen the updated KISS avatars, so I don't know. I'm not sure what they're up to. So unfortunately, I hate to go out on a question I can't give an answer to, but I really haven't seen them. So I don't know.
Do you have any issue with KISS carrying on in the way that it sounds like they're going to carry on?
I don't. No, because once they decided like these are the four iconic makeups, this thing could go on in so many different ways forever. Doesn't matter who's behind the makeup, as long as you see the star, the spaceman, the demon, and the cat. That's what represents KISS. And the song, and if the songs are there, that's all that really matters. I really thought they would roll out like franchise it as a KISS in every city. You have a KISS Detroit, you have a KISS Chicago, KISS New York, KISS, New Jersey, whatever. But I like the Dio hologram tour. I know it bummed some people out. I saw the Dio one. I saw the Frank Zappa one. I thought they were really done well. But I know that's kind of polarizing. But in terms of KISS, it's never going to end. And you guys know that from the time I joined the KISS Army for $5 when I was 11 years old, and probably until the day that I die, I'm probably still going to be giving Gene my money. So, God bless it. If people want to see it, that's cool.
Hey, out of curiosity, have you ever gone on any of the KISS cruises?
No, I never have, because I do the Monsters of Rock cruise, and usually it's tough to do competing cruises like that. But maybe someday as a fan, if if the lineup is there and it looks cool, I wouldn't mind doing it.
Because that was the first time we ever did the KISS cruise thing on Landlocked, but it was trippy. Everything was KISS. The hotel, you had KISS music playing nonstop. Everywhere you look, KISS fans. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a hard sell for me because, like I said, man, without KISS, I wouldn't be talking to you guys. That metal show would have never happened. None of this stuff never would have met Ace, and I never would have met. I've actually met all the members of KISS, but I mean, even having gotten to know Ace a little bit over the years, and it's still freaks me out that he's gone. But without KISS, none of this stuff would even be happening.
Right.
It freaks all of us out, actually, still. which is kind of weird for me because I don't have many feelings left. Thank you to all our subscribers who submitted questions.
Thanks, Hooligans.
Don, thank you for hanging out with us today.
Great.
Do you have anything coming up that you would like to share with our audience?
I'm always out on the road doing shows, so please come and have some laughs with me if I come to your town. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook and X. And also, my newest album is called No Sleep Till McSorley's. It's what's the background behind me, and that's my actual vinyl record. Yes, I put it out on vinyl. So,
Eddie must love you for that.
Back. It's coming back.
It's been back, baby. If I could turn my camera this way, you see my vinyl collection. It's nuts. I only listen to vinyl, so I had to put my comedy album out on vinyl too. But that's of it. All my albums are available on Apple Music and Spotify and all that. And just appreciate the support from everybody and people still asking about that metal show. Thank you, and of course, to you guys, Hooligan Army, and all your subscribers, man. I appreciate the time, and it was a lot of fun, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you have a That Metal Show Christmas party coming up, don't you?
Yeah, we should. Yeah, let's mention that. So December 18th, every year, Jim, Eddie, and myself just host a night of great tribute bands and stuff at Clifton, New Jersey, at a club called Dingbats. So if you're anywhere in the area, please come and join us. It's a really good time. It's like I said, it's the three of us hanging out, just partying with people, celebrating the holidays, and listening to some great tunes.
I know that I intend on being there. I'm not sure about Father Rocco yet.
It'll be a day after my surgery, so I don't know if I'm going to be. Oh no, it'll be a week after my surgery.
He's gonna finally go in and get that sex change that he's always wanted.
Finally, you
set him up. See how I set him up?
You took it full circle, Anthony.
Woo!
Anthony, I'm going to start using that. I like that.
You use whatever you want. Well, Don, we hope you had a good time, and we'll come back and hang out with us in the future, because I know that for both Father Rocco and I, we could have done 4 hours asking you questions. They would have gotten dumber and dumber, but we could have asked questions forever. Anyway, thank you, Don, for your time, and we really appreciate you coming on with us.
You got it, guys.
If you're watching us on our YouTube channel and you like this episode, please consider hitting the like button, just like that fan of Paul Stanley art, and leaving us a comment. Hit that subscribe button, just like Father Rocco right there, so you don't miss any future episodes, and check out these episodes right here. As always, if you made it this far, thank you for supporting us, and don't forget, we should all lead with love and take care of each other. Peace out, Hooligan Nation.